Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So today's video is a review of all the books that I read this past week, March the 12th to the 18th. And so I read a total of four books, and I DNF'd one. So let's start off with the book that I DNF'd. So it was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and this is by Grady Hendrix. And this is a thriller horror novel. And this was the second book from the TBR game that Hannah has on her channel. Her Discord is a number game. And so the premise of this book, it's set in the South, and it's a bunch of women that are part of this book club, and they read mystery books, so like a lot of true crime and things like that. And I think somewhere in the book, towards later on in the book, I guess you'd say, a stranger comes into town, and he's very charismatic and very intriguing. He's very mysterious, and things start happening. So then that's I guess people are wondering what exactly is going on with this person, but they're captivated by him or intrigued by him, so they wonder what's happening. So, but I didn't get that far. I unfortunately DNF'd this book. I got up to chapter 8, and I just couldn't read it anymore. I just found it really, there wasn't anything going on. It was not a whole lot of action, so I had to drop it. It was just unfortunate. Mostly it was just about a bunch of women just talking about their lives, their regular lives, you know, like about their kids, packing their kids' lunches, and what's going on with their marriages. And it was just, I found it boring, to be honest. So that one I had to drop. But the other books that I did finish, so I finished What Have We Done by Alex Finley, and this is a book that I got from NetGalley. It's an advanced reader copy, or an ARC. And this is a thriller, and it centers around three friends, and they used to be they lived in a group home for teenagers years and years ago. But something bad had happened at the group home, and so it ended up closing, and they had to go off. They had to leave their home and just go off in separate ways. So we have Jenna, Nico, and Donnie. So Jenna is a new wife. She just recently married, and she's the mother of she's got 2 stepdaughters. And we have Nico, who is a reality TV producer, and we have Donnie, who is a musician, a rock musician in a band. He's got a bit of a drug habit, and so they're living their lives, and they're totally different situations that they're living in, totally different circumstances, as you'd say. And then one day, somebody is trying to kill them. They're just being not being picked off, but they're just being, somebody is going after them, but they all don't know why it is. And I think towards the end, eventually when you're reading the book, you find out why. And this book I gave 3 wontons out of 5. It was okay, but it wasn't the greatest. I mean, when you find out the reason why they were all being targeted, it was just like, is that really why? I found the whole book kind of confusing, because you have all these different perspectives going on. So you have Jenna's perspective, and you jump to Nico's, and you jump over to Donnie's, and back to Jenna again. And it was just, I found it really confusing. And so this is the second book I read by Alex Finley, and I read Every Last Fear, I think it's called. And I think I also gave that one 3 out of 5 as well. So I'm wondering if maybe Finley's writing is not for me. But I haven't read The Night Shift yet, and I've heard that that's really good. So, I mean, I think I'll give that book a try, and if I find that I'm just not I'm not into his writing in that particular book, then I guess I'll just come to realize that his writing is not for me. But I'll try. And the other book that I finished, it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And this is book 2 in the Chronicles of Narnia series. And this is part of a buddy read that I'm doing on Mr. Francie's Discord. And this was a reread. So the premise of this book, it centers around 4 children. So they are Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. And this is set around the 1930s, around World War II. So they live in London, and so this is around the time where children that were living in London at the time, they were sent away to the country for safety because London was being bombed by the Germans. So these four are sent into the country, and they live with this professor. I mean, I can't remember exactly if he's a friend of the family or at least friend of their parents. So these the 4 of them, are allowed to run around the house, just like they're allowed to explore it. And so Lucy she's running. I think they're playing hide and seek. And so Lucy goes into this room, and there's the only thing in the room is this big wardrobe. And she walks through it. She goes through it, actually, rather. And then she just goes through the back wall of the wardrobe and then into this world of Narnia. And so it's kind of goes from there. We meet a bunch of other characters like Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, the fawn, Mr. Tumnus, and the witch who's all dressed in white with a white crown. And so, and we also meet, like, later in the book, you meet Aslan, who's the king of Narnia. And as I was reading the book, I had also watched the movie. So when I was reading the book, or listening to the book rather, I was picturing the scenes from the movie in my head. So it was kind of I was kind of following along in a way, because the movie was pretty close to the book. And so I gave this book 4 wontons out of 5. I enjoyed it. I gave the book that same rating the last time I read it. I had read it as an ebook. So that one is actually a good read. I think the next book we're reading is Prince Caspian. That's one I have never read before. So that one will be good. It'll be interesting. And I'm just looking down at my notes here just so I don't miss anything. Oh, and the next book I read was Cheddar Off Dead, and this is book 1 in the Cheese Shop Mystery Series by Karina Moss. And this was a scavenger hunt pick for a book with a weapon on the cover. So that one had the big kitchen knife in the cheese. So in this book, we have a main character, Willa, and she runs a cheese shop. And so one day there's a nighttime, the shop is closed, so she is running a class on how to make cheese. And so everything's all closed up, and she thinks it's everything. No, but there aren't going to be any customers that are coming in. And then she hears knocking on the door, and this guy comes in, and he starts poking around in her cheese displays and just like picking them up and putting them back down. And she's asking me, we're closed. I have a class going on in the back. What are you doing here? And this guy's just very, very pretentious, and like sticking his nose up at her. It's like when he's touching things, he's kind of making that face like, "Ew, this is what quality is this?" And he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And his name is Guy Lineker, and he's like a food critic. I think that what was before the class was happening. I think the cheese shop, they were going to have a food critic come and do a review of the shop. Because they just sell cheeses and pairings of different things, like with charcuterie boards, like deli meats or that kind of thing. So Willa is like, she's upset. I mean, she's like, oh, she's shocked because she didn't think he was going to come that late to inspect her to look at her cheese. And so she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I have a class going on right now, but we're almost done. I can show you around the what we have here." And he's just like, no, I'm fine. I've seen enough. I don't need to see anymore. So she's upset, like, because he just kind of the way that he was talking made it seem like he didn't think very much of her product, of what she was offering at the store. And we also meet a bunch of other characters, like they work in the store with her, like Mrs. Schultz, Archie, and Baz. And we also have Rowan. He is, I think, he might be the potential love interest in the story, or in the book, in the series rather. And he runs his own business making mead. It's like it's a type of wine, I guess mulled wine or something like that. And we also have the police officer that's investigating. Well, actually, before we talk about that, but one day Guy is found dead. I think he's got one of Willow's knives stuck in his body. So there's now the suspicion that Willow might have done something. But she's freaking out, and we have with Mrs. Schultz, Baz, and Archie. They're trying to make her feel better. Like I think this series might be a good one, because it's almost like it's looking like they're almost like a found family, because Willa says it a few times in the book that these three that work with her, they care about her so much. They're always so concerned about her. So this feels like it's a family that she's found. So this might be a found family situation, a found family trope, and I like that particular trope. But we also have so now that that Guy is found dead, we have a police officer. We don't know his first name. They just call him Heath. So he's investigating, and he's asking Willow all these questions about what was she doing, what kind of relationship do you have with this guy, and it's kind of like hinting that she's done it, but she's freaking out because I didn't do anything. I didn't. Any interaction that I had was just that night when I was doing the class, and he came in and started poking around my merchandise. So she's saying I didn't do anything, but the police are saying, oh, we have to investigate every possibility, and you're not listed as a suspect, but we have to consider everything, and so Willa goes and she does her own bit of investigating, and we find out what really happened. And I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 wontons out of 5. I enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to read the next book in the series. And I've heard a lot of good things about this series on the Discord, on Killing Time with Cozies. And everybody loves this book. Loved the first book and are raving about the series. So I'm definitely going to be continuing. And it took me a while to get to this book because it wasn't available at the library, and it finally came available. So I picked it up as soon as I saw it in Libby, on the Libby app. And the other book that I actually finished it last night, was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. And this is book 1 in the Farseer trilogy. And it centers around a main character's name is Fitzroy. And he is the illegitimate son of a character named Prince Chivalry. But I don't think we see him at all. Like, I think he's dead. I think he's died or something like that. Prince Chivalry is part of the royal family, and he's supposed to be the heir to the throne, but because he has this child that's not legitimate, he had to abdicate his position to the throne. So Fitz is taken in. He's removed from he doesn't live with the royal family at all. And he's taken and raised outside of it in the stables, I believe, by a man named Burridge. I think he works in the stables. And eventually Fitz so we follow in the first book we start off with him being 6 years old. And so it continues from being 6 to his teenage years in the first book. And so I think he has some sort of special magical ability. And we have the other characters that I think there's one, I can't remember the name of the character, but he takes Fitz and trains him as an assassin. So Fitz is his new job, or his new position in life, is to kill people. So it's a little bit different. This one I liked it. I mean, there's some parts that were a bit confusing to me and a little bit dull, I guess. Not dull, but it was just like very, I don't know if mundane is the right word, but it wasn't a whole lot of action going on. So sometimes it was a little bit hard to get into. But I gave it 4 wontons out of 5, and I think I would continue with the series, or with the next book, just to see what happens. There's some people that have there's different opinions about Fitz. Like, some people love him, and some people don't like him. So, I mean, this book is mostly focused on his childhood and his teenage years, so I don't know what he's like as an adult. So I'm guessing that the book 2 will be starting off with his adult years and what he's doing in that time period. So those were the books that I read. What books did you finish this week, and how did you find them? If you like to post in the comments, I'd be happy to read them. And also, what do you think of this type of format where I'm going to be posting my TBR for next week, for this week coming up tomorrow, and then I'll be doing another review video on next Saturday. So, what do you think of that kind of format? Do you like this this way of the way that I'm thinking about doing videos, or would you rather have it all in one? I'd like to know I'd be happy to read your feedback on that. And also, what other videos would you like for me to do? I mean, I'm going to be doing a monthly wrap coming up, and I have some ideas for some other videos. So please let me know. I'm all for any kind of feedback you all have for me. So this is the end of this video, and thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks. Bye for now.